homie.
What's up, strongest men, women, and children from blocks all around the world? I am my block's strongest man. And last night, March 19th, 2022, the Eddie Hall versus Thor Bjornsson boxing match finally happened. The two world's strongest men, 2017 World's Strongest Man Eddie Hall and 2018 World's Strongest Man Thor Bjornsson, went at it in a boxing match after almost 2 years of prep and build-up. So let's talk about what happened. And you know how I do it. I give you detailed breakdown and blow-by-blow analysis in strongman and boxing. You'll probably get more detail here than you do anywhere else. And hopefully you enjoy that. Now, I will say this. Do not expect me to show any video clips or full fight footage or anything like that. It's go to Segi.tv and watch it there. It was free. Why would they can't make it easier for you or more convenient as a fan to go watch it. So why would we, have to go stream it somewhere else and take away from their ability to show their sponsor commercials? Yes, the commercials were excessive, but it's their right? Go watch it on Segi TV. I'm sure they'll be adding it to their collection of videos. They probably need some time to edit it and whatnot. And then they did say on the banner on the screen that it will be available in their collection. So watch it there. I'll give you great screenshots here, but no video. So first and foremost, I like to break down boxing into effective aggression, ring generalship, hard and clean punches, and defense. And I'm going to give you my scoring, and then I'll give you the official scoring, which they don't agree. I'll tell you right now, they do not agree. They're off by a little bit. I have the same winner, but they do not agree. So, that being said, just some pre-fight notes that I wrote down. They're doing this in a tennis stadium, and there was a lot of people saying the website wasn't working ahead of time. They tried to get on maybe half an hour ahead, and so did I. And I had the same issue. The website wasn't working, but I gotta say, when it was time to start, it worked right on the minute. So it was supposed to start 4:30 Eastern time, and it did. So that tennis stadium looked like a really cool venue, I thought. But I did notice I was expecting it to be more full with fans. I didn't notice as the fight went on whether it got more and more full because I was watching the fight. But at least half an hour ahead of time, there still were a lot of empty seats there. They seemed to be confined to certain sections. Ringside couches were badass, though. Like, they had these big white couches around the ringside. That would be pretty cool. I've seen boxing live before, but not from a couch. Like, that would be really, really cool. Quite a bit of musical entertainment. So they had a lot of music going on for a while. So the feed started at 4:30, but the fight didn't start at 4:30, right? The fight actually started a little later. I have some timestamps I wrote down here. And there was a lot of music going on, and it was really, laid back. Like, I'm expecting Welcome to the Jungle, stuff like that. A lot of very laid-back music. And so there were, at 5:06, they announced that there would be even more music. And at that time, you hear a big audible boo from the crowd because they want to see fighting at that time. The music was good, like I said, but just way too mellow. So point being, the people wanted the fight to start. It was supposed to be 1 a.m. Dubai time. That's what was announced, that the fight would be at 1 a.m., which would be, if my calculations are right, 5 p.m. Eastern time. So we're at 5:06 now. Finally, at 5:11, it begins. Big Laz and former champion boxer Barry Jones are the commentators, so very exciting to hear what they're both going to say. Laz, I'm expecting more to be a play-by-play guy, and Barry, I'm expecting to be more of a color commentator guy, adding in all of the experienced commentary about why we're seeing what we're seeing. And so Laz says their fitness levels will be very similar in his opinion, given all of their prep. Barry Jones says it can be easier to punch upward, as Eddie claims. So apparently Eddie Hall was claiming he has to punch upward, and that's easier. Barry's saying that could be true because if you engage your legs and your full body correctly, that can be an easier way to punch upward than to try to aim downward and get the aim correct. I've not found that to be the case. So I've only ever trained with a professional boxer one time, but other than that, I hit a bob bag all the time. And when I make the bob bag considerably taller than I am, I find it really, really hard to hit the head. And that's why I've always felt like Eddie Hall should have created should have focused all of his attention around a body attack. So when Laz is asked to pick a winner, he says it's very hard to pick a winner. Barry picks Thor due to his superior technique that he thinks he has, but he does say that Eddie has fast feet, so that can sort of make a difference here. Eddie is quoted here in the sort of montage package they show, saying if someone wrongs you, effing smash them in the face. So I thought that was an interesting quote and sort of embodies what Eddie's all about. Big Mo, the ring announcer, who's a really cool guy, by the way. I've chatted with him on Instagram. Really, really cool guy. He comes out and he starts announcing at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. So now I kind of suspected that the 4:30 was sort of the preamble and the getting everything ready, and it's an hour long until the fighters come out. And to their credit, like, they did it right at 5:30, so we all expected 4:30. But if you really think about it, you're not going to tune into a fight and see the fight right away ever. So getting it right on the hour seems like very good timing on the producer's part. They show a video package, then Thor's announced right at 1:31. So a 1-minute video package and right into it. Thor comes out. He does get some boos. The crowd seems to be very pro Eddie. I say here, he seems like he isn't 6'9" compared to some of the other guys, but I changed my mind later on in the discussion here, so we'll see. He came out to Lose Yourself by Eminem. In my opinion, in many people's opinions, Eminem's greatest song ever, from one of the greatest rappers of all time. So I love that song. And he seemed pensive, so he didn't seem like exuberant. He seemed like pensive, thinking and sort of walking deliberately to the ring. He gets to the ring and he's fairly happy. Then Eddie comes out to kind of a slow jam that I don't recognize with Snoop Dogg in it, and he seems super relaxed, like not jumping around either, happy, relaxed. He doesn't really have much of an entourage around him. He gets in the ring, and he's pacing behind his team in the corner, sort of like cornered off in the corner like Mike Tyson used to do, where they used to try to keep Tyson away from his opponent until the fight started. So, getting very excited in that case, and again, the crowd totally in Eddie's favor, overwhelmingly so. So round one, how did I score round one and why? Round one, I felt like Eddie was more aggressive and more effective in his aggression, 10-9 in that category. Ring generalship, I think both of them did things they wanted to do, so I had that part a tie. Hard and clean punches I gave to Eddie, and defense I gave to Thor. So here's why. Here's what happened in that round. So here are my notes. Immediately I noticed there's 3-minute rounds. So I had heard online that they were 2-minute rounds, which if you watch my previous videos, I mentioned it there. I don't remember the source, but they were 3-minute rounds, not 2. So the standard 3-minute rounds. As soon as the bell rings, Eddie immediately jumps into a southpaw stance, like you would switch in Taekwondo, like they make you do in Taekwondo forms, where you switch and switch back and switch back. Like it seemed very deliberate and very confusing as to why would he do it right at the beginning of a fight instead of trying to cause confusion in the middle of the fight. But anyway, a little bit strange. He approaches Thor, and he's throwing solely single overhand rights, but they are hard and scary. The first one grazes across the left side of Thor's face without much contact and lands kind of down on his shoulder with a thud. The second one was thrown seconds after that and lands on Thor's left cheek, but is kind of chopping down without full impact. Eddie seems to be focusing his whole attack around fighting a bigger guy with overhand punching. So we'll see how that manifests itself. That being said, in real time, it looked really scary. Like, these looked like scary punches to the point where I had my small kids in the office and I had to get them out because it just seemed like too violent for them to watch. This wasn't like a normal feeling out boxing match, nor was it like the slugfest brawl that a lot of people expected. Not me. I knew that it wouldn't be that. So it was really cool to see good boxing, at least, more so from Thor's part. But, then more of a clean up jab by Eddie, although this is really a straight right. Then he looks like he's in a southpaw stance to get his strong arm forward, like Oscar De La Hoya used to do a lot of the time. Eddie then misses a straight right. Thor hasn't started his attack yet, or his game plan. Around the halfway mark of the round, though, Eddie misses a big overhand right with Thor taking a step back. Eddie tries a straight to the body, but is at the very end of his reach now. Like, he's not trying to close distance at all. He's trying to throw punches from the outside, which is strange. Like, I would have expected Eddie to work his way in and chop away at the body and get Thor's legs to go, and he just never did that throughout this fight at all. So at 118 remaining, Thor comes forward with a range-finding double jab. He looks like he's a natural southpaw, not switching around like Eddie is. Eddie deflects most of it, but you can already see the blood over his right eye, over Eddie's right eye, that is. The blood is over his eye as opposed to under, which is the worst part to have it. When it's under, it kind of leaks away from you. When it's over, it leaks into your eye. So, obviously going to cause him vision problems there. Thor misses a 1-2, but then connects with a jab and a left to the body. Eddie misses another haymaker overhand right, but immediately connects with a right to the chest. Everything is still from far range, as I said. Thor with a nice 1-2, partially blocked, but enough to push Eddie back. Eddie with a pushing right to the chest. Thor responds with a crisp 1-2, moving around very well. Eddie's left seems non-existent, like he's not using it at all. And he isn't doing anything to work inside, as I said. He's not trying to crowd Thor or dig to the body or make his legs crumble, anything like that. It's all overhand rights. He's right at the distance where Thor wants him, in my opinion. Like, right where Thor is almost at the end of his punches and not trying to get inside and under those arms at all. Eddie, in my opinion, slightly wins this round, but only because Thor was taking time to figure him out and get his game plan going, which he started to do toward the end of the round. 10-9 Eddie Hall. So round 2 starts, and here I give effective aggression to Eddie as well. He was aggressive and effective in that aggression. I give ring generalship to Eddie. I gave hard, clean punches to Eddie. I give defense to really nobody here. And a 10-7 round to Eddie. They scored it 10-8. I scored it 10-7. Here are the details why of what happened in that round. So the round starts with a big right hand for Eddie, sending Thor into the ropes, standing 8 count for Thor there. So if the ropes are holding you up, you had a standing 8 count, so that's a knockdown. That's the one they counted. Then Eddie confidently stalks, but still stops short of closing the punching distance. Thor with a pawing double jab, but they mostly miss. Eddie backs Thor up with more stalking. Thor tries a stiff jab and then another, but misses. Then lands his third try at a stiff jab as Eddie's looking away, trying for another overhand right haymaker that misses. Eddie with a right to the body, then he misses 2 overhand right haymakers. A stiff step and jab from Thor, so step and really assertive jab from Thor, but he doesn't budge Eddie, who doesn't try to block it, but that's points for Thor, right? Thor misses 3 more pawing jabs, one of which Eddie catches, and then Eddie sort of egging him on to come forward. Thor staying right at the range that he wants to, though, not kind of falling into that trap where Eddie wants him to be. And then, Thor and Eddie both miss, then Eddie with arm punches right to the right of the head, and that's most of Eddie's problem. He's doing a lot of arm punching or overhand rights, which he is getting part of his body into, but it's either like a haymaker overhand right or just arm punch jabs. Like there isn't any balance in between or a great variety of punching going on. So the next sequence from Eddie was actually very good with about 1:15 remaining. He's doing his own pawing with the left jab. I just noticed that I never noticed before when he switched back to conventional, but he did at some point. Then a right that hits the right pec of Thor, but again, at the very end of the punch, making it sort of grazing and making Thor think the combo was over, actually. But then Eddie hits him with a very hard jab to the right part of his chin, pawing jabs from both men now. Eddie leaning back and sideways, raising his jabbing forearm to block. So he's doing like this thing because he wants to really like come back over with the overhand right, but it's too much telegraphing. Like you don't want to show your opponent so much what you're planning to do. Anyway, puts his forearm to block. A 1-2 misses. Blood over his eyes seems minimal at this point since Thor hasn't hit him very much in this round. Eddie misses. Thor cracks him with a straight left. And then Eddie responds with an immediate overhand hook that floors Thor. So out of nowhere, like we have not much going on, and then Thor is down. Eddie had his forearm in Thor's throat, but it all happened so fast that I don't think it was meant to be intentional. So basically, Eddie came forward like this with the forearm and then with the overhand. So Thor took the forearm to the throat, and then the overhand came over it and knocked him down. They called it a push, but I gotta disagree. Like I saw it from the few angles that they showed, and as soon as Eddie hit him, he was pulling out of the situation the whole time after he hit the punch. I never saw him push anybody. Like, you could claim maybe that forearm was not necessarily allowed, but he didn't push him. Like, the punch came after that, not before. So I wouldn't call it a push. I would count that knockdown. They did not. Thor's up with 38 seconds remaining, and they both pawed each other to finish the round. Eddie's cut over both eyes now, so I don't know which punch did it, but he's now cut over both eyes. And the strange thing, the bell rang with 7 seconds left for some reason, so they stopped and went to their corners. But again, they scored this 10-8 in Eddie's favor. I scored a 10-7 in Eddie's favor because you had the standing 8 count at the beginning, and I thought the second one was a legitimate knockdown. So round 3, I didn't score all of the different sections because there was a knockdown again, so that's immediately a 10-8 round. There was lots of pawing by both men to start the round. Eddie leaning way over again. Lands a right body hook head combo at around 2:18 remaining. So that was a nice combo. Then heavy Eddie chants from the crowd. Lots more pawing from both guys. Thor throws a left, but's blocked by Eddie's elbow. Eddie's kind of putting up his forearm elbow to block a lot. A slapping left hook from Thor hits partially on Eddie's left chest and partially his left bicep, so sort of like in between. This was his first significant punch that he landed with 147 left, so a lot of time went by before Thor did anything in this round. Eddie switches southpaw right in front of Thor and gets punished for it. Thor hits him with a solid 1-2 while he's switching. Thor is starting to show great timing. Eddie with a missed jab right hook. Thor with a missed 1-2 and a blocked jab, but throwing with more conviction now. Both guys miss. Then Thor lands a glancing jab grazing off the right of Eddie's head. Maybe enough to aggravate the eye bleeding, because I thought I saw a little bit more bleeding after this. More missed jabs from both guys. Eddie lands 2 arm punch overhand right, so like kind of without his whole body into it. And just when I thought it would be a hard round to score with all this information I've given you so far, Thor lands a jab and 1-2 combo, so 3-punch combo to drop Eddie with only 6 seconds left. Eddie's up in 5 seconds about, out of the 10 seconds he had to get up. Meets the 8-second count successfully, no problem. They go to their corners waiting for the next round, but that is a knockdown, 10-8 for Thor in round 3. Moving on to round 4, effective aggression. So I gave that to Thor. So I thought they were both aggressive, somewhat aggressive, but Thor was more effective in it. Ring generalship, definitely it's turning into Thor's fight now. Hard and clean punches I gave to Thor. Defense I gave to Thor. So here's why. Thor looks more relaxed and fresh than Eddie in this round for sure starting off. Thor had lots of busy jabbing. Eddie's switching which glove he has up and blocking most and not all of it. So he's doing like this to try to pick off Thor's jabs. He deflects kind of most, if not all of it, as I said. Eddie lands a good overhand right. Thor with 2 different double jabs, straight left attempts, both very glancing as Eddie moves away. Stiff jab by Thor, 1 minute's gone. So not a whole lot of action at the beginning. Lots of moving around by both, kind of posturing, moving around them, around each other. Thor misses a couple jabs. Thor lands a jab. Then he lands another jab. Then he blocks 2 overhand rights from Eddie, 1 on his arm. So he kind of, blocked one with his left arm. Thor with a glancing left. He has good defense. So he's got his arms up, kind of crossing, using a variety of different blocking techniques. Totally keeping Eddie at bay at this point, right? He has a glancing left. Ring generalship is absolutely in Thor's favor now. It's absolutely the kind of fight he wants. A 1-2 from Thor sends Eddie into the ropes, and then Eddie bounces back off of them wrestling style, trying to come with a counter, and his counter is blocked. It's actually 2 times in this fight Eddie did that bounce off wrestling move, which was, I don't know if he did that by instinct or had planned things like that, but kind of a little bit humorous there. And then Thor not causing any real damage during this round, but dominating with the jab, totally keeping Eddie at bay. Thor's round, 10-9. We move on to round 5, and Eddie leaning way over once again. I'm not sure if it's possible to actually telegraph a punch more than this. It's, I don't want to be mean and say, like, what was he practicing for 2 years? But if this was the whole plan, like I'm going to lean over and load up with one big shot and just try that over and over again, I'm surprised he thought such a limited offensive attack was going to be effective here. Although, I have to admit, Thor was miles better in this fight than anywhere I've seen him before, training or his other 3 fights. So maybe some surprises there. So Eddie finally throws the punch. He hits Thor's left glove with a big overhand swing, so that's considered a miss, obviously. Thor with a 1-2. Eddie lands a great jab, a great right jab. So obviously southpaw again, which I just noticed. I can't keep track of when he keeps changing. Thor with a hard 1-2 that knocks Eddie back into the ropes. A hard glancing left from Thor, followed by a jab that lands by Thor. Then Eddie jabs him to the body. Thor picks away with jabs on Eddie. Eddie looking tired at this point. Eddie with a straight right body shot. So he did try a few body shots, but they were all straight and at the very end of his punch, so they didn't have a lot of impulse at the end of the punch, as we talked about in the prediction videos, what impulse is in boxing. And, he just was never in the right range to do the kind of damage he needed to do. So then Thor had 3 stiff jabs after that. It looks like Thor's superior boxing has really deflated a lot of Eddie's confidence at this point. He's not coming forward with all the fervor and aggression as he did before. Although you got to give Eddie credit, like from the knockdown, he got up, he kept going. He was never deterred from what he was trying to accomplish. He tried and tried throughout this whole fight. He just needed a more varied and perhaps, more refined attack is really what it was. You cannot take anything away from his confidence or assertiveness at all. But this singularly focused attack clearly isn't working for him, and he's got to be thinking, oh crap, like what do I do now, right? I would. And again, the bell rings with 4 seconds left, so not sure what's going on there. If it's a timing mismatch between the video and the audio, or what, or it actually happened that way there. But be interesting to know if any of you were there. Let me know in the comments below. Round 6, yes, we got to the final round, and actually we get to scorecards. Nobody got knocked out. People got knocked down, but nobody got knocked out in this fight. So round 6 begins. Eddie reaches out to touch gloves at the beginning, and Thor obliges. So just like you see in traditional boxing, like they're being good sportsmen, which is always good to see, both of them miss several jabs. Eddie misses an overhand right. Thor misses a 1-2. Thor lands a jab, lands another jab, then a 1-2 as Eddie's backing away. So Thor's starting to take command again here a little bit. So Eddie's backing away and turning to get away from this, and gets knocked down with the third punch that Thor threw, which was a left cross, but it hit him on the back of the head. Now, I'm not saying Thor threw it that way on purpose to hit him on the back of the head. Eddie was turning in the moment, so it's difficult to avoid doing that, but it is an illegal punch. They called it a knockdown. I'm not calling it a knockdown because it's an illegal punch. So I'm giving Thor round 6 10-9. They gave it to him 10-8. So this, in addition to the knockdown that Eddie got earlier that they called a push, will be the two reasons making up the difference in my scoring and the official scoring. Nothing other than that. The two, how you see the two knockdowns, whether they're actually knockdowns or not. So one of them I felt should have been and wasn't, and one of them was the inverse. It was and shouldn't have been. Thor times the combo perfectly to hit Eddie while he's wiping the blood off of his eyes, so that's how he got him in the first place. Eddie, bleeding from the eyes, went to wipe, and Thor hit him with that two punches, and as Eddie was turning the third punch in the back of the head. So great timing from Thor compared to what I had seen in the past. I thought his timing was nowhere near this. I thought his hand speed was nowhere near this, so seems like he was the one hiding stuff behind closed doors after all. Eddie does pop right back up, though, and seems okay, but a good deal of blood on his face at this point. Maybe should have taken a little bit more of a rest before he got up, but, you know, confident and aggressive and wants to show he's still here and still doing his thing. Lots of range-finding jabbing from Eddie, clearly looking for a big overhand right, but seeming much less confident now than before. Thor keeping his distance and circling both ways, left, right, just making it, taking control, making it impossible for Eddie to land that big shot. Eddie then, with a 1-2, but the right hit Thor's arm, so it wasn't really as thudding as it seems sort of in real time. It looked good, like, to the audience, but no, you don't get any points for hitting somebody on the arm. Thor with a good jab that lands, circling left, circling right, and then keeping Eddie off the whole time, really. Eddie gets a grazing right to the body at the very end of his reach, and, you know, Eddie gets a grazing right to the body at the very end of his reach again. Again, not close enough to get the full impact there or anywhere near the full impact. And that's basically how the fight ends. So we go to the scorecards, and you have the feeling here that Thor's won the fight. Like, just by seeing what you've seen, you have the feeling that Thor's won the fight. But we don't judge by feelings, right? You got to do all the math. So what was my final score and why? I had Thor winning 56-55 by 1 point. The official scorecard was by 3 instead of 1, so they had him 57-54. And that's only because of the way math works, right? If you take 1 point away from one guy, you're going to give it to the other guy most of the time. And so one change can make a difference of 2 points. In this particular case, it wasn't that way. It was knockdown-based. So again, I felt like Eddie should have 1 more point for a knockdown they didn't count. So that's why I have him 55 instead of 54. And then I thought Thor should have 1 less point than they gave him because the knockdown of Eddie to the back of the head should not have counted. So that's it. Like, other than that, I saw the fight the way the judges saw it, apparently. But here's what I saw. I just said here, in a surprising turn of events, here's my final notes. Thor ends up being the one with the surprises, and Eddie brought a package that was the most limited it possibly could have been, relevant to all the disadvantages people said that he had. They said his hands were down, and, you know, everything basically they said about him. He came with that limited package and had nothing kind of hidden behind closed doors that we hadn't seen before, and Thor did. Thor absolutely did. He was far more composed. He hit harder and faster, countered with greater precision, moved much better than in any of his prep fights. Like, he looked worlds better than his prep fights by a big margin. He looked way, way better than even against Devin Larratt very recently. Eddie, for all his promises of hiding his best stuff in public, was looking for single haymakers all night long. Unfortunately, he hit some good ones, but some of them also looked really good, but were hitting Thor on the shoulder or on the trap, and that's why they didn't all knock him down. So it was a single-minded seek and destroy mode, which I understand based on the stuff that happened in their past at 2017 World's Strongest Man, but it isn't a street fight, right? Like in boxing, you have to land punches in a certain way, and if you're going to try a similar attack all night with just a very small sprinkling of other things, it's going to get predictable, unfortunately. Thor, however, ended up being the one who hit his best stuff from all of us, and to me, I've watched a lot of boxing in my life. He was good enough to be a boxer I would watch, not just a strongman who boxes. So I want to make that point. He was also very gracious in his win. They raised his hand, and he immediately went over to shake Eddie's hand. Eddie did put out his hand and shake too. So there was a lot of sportsmanship there. Now I want to say I'm no lip reading expert, but they did have a really close up on Thor's face, which I'll show you. I'm not going to show you the video, but I'll show you the still. And I could have sworn he finally said, "I'm sorry" to Eddie. Not sure. We'll see if either one of them admits to that, but that's what I thought I saw. I thought Thor shook his hand and said, "I'm sorry," and I couldn't lip read the words after that. But be really cool if he did do that. I didn't see Eddie interviewed, so maybe he was having the cuts attended to. Who knows? Thor said Eddie was still a little angry after the fight, but it's understandable to him given all the feelings around the loss. And again, he was, not taking any jabs at all. He was very gracious in his win, I thought. And I'll say, at this angle, he finally does look 6'9", next to the 6'7" Big Mo, the ring announcer, who was awesome, by the way. If you didn't see this on Segi.tv, you should watch whenever they have the replay up. Big Mo was really got the crowd going and was an incredible ring announcer, who I'd love to have on my show sometime soon. So let's pressure him into coming on. Why don't we? But yeah, Big Mo is 6'7", and incidentally, I Googled him, and he's a former collegiate offensive lineman, which may explain a lot in his ability to hold Thor back during the press conference. He's been holding big guys back for a long time, so that explains a lot. Anyway, that being said, he gave Eddie Hall a lot of credit for his hard punching. He said, he does hit as hard as he said he did. Like in all of my prep, no one's ever floored me, and Eddie was able to. So, all credit to him. He does hit as hard as he says he hits. So, that's kind of the whole story. Thor wins the fight. It goes all 6 rounds. He wins by points, 57-54. I felt it should have been 56-55, but same winner. Thor won and deserved the win over Eddie the Beast Hall. So that's my detailed breakdown and analysis of the Eddie the Beast Hall versus Half Thor, the Mountain Bjornsson boxing match in 2022 that finally happened almost 2 years after it was announced. We'll see if there's a rematch. They both seem open to it. Eddie seems to want it, and Thor said if he wants it, I'll do it. Otherwise, I'm fine moving on. But other than that, I hope you've enjoyed this detailed analysis. And of course, until next time, as always, ciao, homie.